well, welcome everybody again this morning to our webinar covering the topic of authorship, the relationship to search, and how that's going to impact your medical practice. This is Ryan Miller. I'm the founder and president of Etna Interactive. I'm very pleased this morning to be joined by my colleague Brent Cavender. Good morning, Brent.
Hello, everybody.
Serving as our, hey, good morning. Brent's going to be serving as our moderator so that as you're using the questions panel on the right-hand side of your screen, both during the actual webinar or at the very end, Brent will interrupt me and make sure that I have a chance to hear your questions and answer them while we're presenting. This, I have to say, is probably one of the most exciting topics that I've covered in the last 3 or 4 years. It's certainly, I think, one of the most exciting things that's happened in search in the last 5. And without any further delay, we're gonna jump right in. So a little bit about this presentation. I'm going to talk about what authorship is. It's not necessarily a new idea, but it's a new implementation. It's something that's finally been embraced by Google. We'll explain mechanically how it works, and then we'll talk for the benefit of our clients how we plan to exploit this opportunity for the benefit of individual clinics and practices. I would like to take a minute to say happy 4th of July to all of the Americans on the call and happy Canada Day to all of our clients from Canada. And this is going to be, I think, an exciting thing to lead into for the U.S. attendees to the holiday weekend or the holiday midweek. Now, what is authorship all about? This is, I think, probably best conveyed with an image more than even with text. So this result here, this is medical web marketing, is one of the keywords for which our site is optimized. And really what's changed, and many of you I think have probably already noticed this in the searches you've performed, is that you're starting to see these pictures. I've just circled it in orange for you there. You're starting to see these pictures show up adjacent to the same search results really that we've always seen. So why a picture? Well, it's not just the picture that's changed. We're also seeing a byline, in this case by Ryan Miller, that happens to link over to my Google Plus profile, as well as links to more content by, in this case, me as the author. So it's linking to other pages, other articles by me. So authorship is really all about pinning the author to the search results of the pages we've already and always seen. Now, this is actually a little bit of a stroke of brilliance on Google's part, because when you think about it, their mission has always been to deliver the most credible, the highest quality content possible to their searchers. And now they have a way for measuring credibility and improving search results that goes beyond really the old impersonal tools they had, which is looking at page content and looking at the quantity and quality of links pointing at those pages. Very impersonal things. Google is now making it incredibly personal and saying, you know what? I want to trust the person, not just the page. So they've created this program. It's actually a part of the HTML5 standards that allows them to identify the human being responsible for content and thereby judging credibility that much better. It's also a really strong strategic move for Google because many of you are familiar with the Google Plus social network. It was Google's way of competing with Facebook. And frankly, it was kind of languishing. It wasn't widely adopted. Well, they just made Google Plus essential for business because that photo you just saw, for example, my photo there, was actually being drawn from my Google Plus profile. So Google just made a Google Plus profile absolutely imperative for anybody who's engaged in search engine marketing. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what this means for searchers because, you know, big deal. We've got a little bit of new technical code that's in place. What does this really mean? Well, there's a couple things that I think really everybody in our industry is forecasting are going to happen. First, putting a picture next to certain results is really going to increase the credibility, and it may encourage people to click on those search results more often. Especially for early adopters, this is likely to be an advantage where in your market you're one of the first few practices to do this. Your search results are definitely going to stand out when your picture is right alongside. You know, and frankly, if we were looking for a recommendation from someone we can see, know, recognize, is going to carry a lot more weight than you know, an anonymous recommendation. So we can expect to see that this is going to have a big impact on the psychology of searchers when they're clicking on results. And the fact that there's now the more by link. This is the link that goes out to all of the articles and pages that you have contributed as an author to the web, it empowers the searcher to begin to follow you as a preferred author, to interact with more of the things that you published on the web, not just on your website, but on all kinds of sites where your content is featured. So that more by is really going to shift the way that the searcher interacts with the result, and that they're not necessarily just going to be looking at that one page. They may also be judging you as an author or as a source of content by looking at everything else that you've written. So what are the implications for your office then, for your practice? Well, this is what we're going to talk about more in this next section here is the logistics, but you're going to need to set a strategy for the authors in your office. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, right now, the way the system is set up is that there is a mapping, there's a rule that says one page gets one author. Now, that's fine, that's easy in an office where you're practicing alone, where you're a solo practitioner. That begins to get a little bit more complicated when we're looking at group practices, because we have to ask the question, how do we divide authorship? How do we assign responsibility for, say, our one liposuction page or our one sleeve gastrectomy page when we've got 2 doctors or 3 or more performing the same procedure in our practice? So it certainly creates a little bit of a strategic challenge, and that's part of what our account executives are here to help you answer. You definitely need to have a strategy for content generation. Now, that's nothing new because search engines have always liked and rewarded new content, and sites that are regularly publishing new pages on the topics they're hoping to rank for. But now we really have to focus on generating content because you're going to be evaluated not necessarily as a doctor, but as an author. And they're going to be looking at not just your individual site, but the wealth of information that you're contributing to the internet as a whole. And ultimately, the implications for your office are that doing this well can catapult your personal brand because your photo, your name is now going to be associated with every page that you're putting on the internet. It's going to increase your visibility, and definitely we expect that it's going to be driving more clicks from your search engine results. So great opportunities there. What's the big idea here? How do I sum this up? Well, authorship really is significant. This is an important change. I think it may be the most important change in search in the last 5 years. And the time to act on this is right now. We want to get out ahead of competitors. Before we dive into how authorship works, because I'm going to get a little geeky on you here, I'm going to dive into the mechanics of it, I do want to remind everyone that we have the questions panel on the right-hand side. And as I'm going through this quickly, if you'd like, go ahead and toss some questions in, and we'll elaborate beyond what I'm already sharing. Now, authorship is really about coding. There's some new code that allows us to declare for any given page the one author of that page and link to an online profile where Google can grab that author's picture. Now, tools from Google allow us to sort of close the loop. So not only do you claim that you've authored the page, but you tell Google that you are, in fact, the real deal and that you're really accepting responsibility for that page. That mechanism prevents people from impersonating others. Now, we've just got, I think, the first great question, and it's unfortunately one of the hardest ones. And Kelly writes in, can a company or practice be the author? For example, could we put the company logo as a profile picture? Kelly, that was actually probably the first question that we asked when we first were studying the methods for implementing authorship. And the short answer today, unfortunately, is you could with an extreme risk, and we're not advising it. The reason for it is that authorship is about individuals. Authorship is about Google trying to learn that they can trust the content because of the people that are behind it, not necessarily the company that's behind it. The only way that you can link authors today is to a Google Plus personal profile, and it's a violation of Google's terms of service to create a personal profile for a corporate entity. So the short answer is no. We don't recommend that you try to assign authorship to a company today. That's one of the unfortunate, I think, incomplete parts of Google's deployment of the authorship program. So let's kind of take a look at the mechanics of it. Now, there are 2 methods for declaring authorship, a 2-link method and a 3-link method. So at the heart of both of those, you'll notice on the left-hand side there is a Google Plus profile wireframe. It contains your name, your picture, a little background image, and some biographical data about you as an author. In this case, we'll pretend like a fictitious author here named William Author. So William Author is out there, and he's written an article or it may just be a page at www.website.com. And we want to tell Google, hey, Google, this author or this article is attributed to William Author. How do we do it? Well, right there we see William Author's name, which is in orange and underlined. It's a hyperlink. That link is going to point back to his Google Plus profile with a special little attribute inside the link. It's called rel equals author. You're telling Google, hey, you know what? This page was authored by this person, and this person is the person you know as William Author for this Google Plus profile. Now, that's fine and dandy, except we have a problem. If anybody could point at my my Google Plus profile, they could pretend to be me, they could say awful or nasty things, they could besmirch my reputation, but Google's thought of that, and Google said, you know what we're going to do is we're going to close the loop. So with this Google Plus profile, at the very bottom, one of the features is I can list where I have contributed content. And I can say, yep, I am actually a contributor of content over at www.website.com, pointing back at the article and confirming to Google that is indeed a page of content by me. Make sense? So when we look at that, this two-link method is perhaps the simplest method. It's a matter of really just adding a tiny little bit of content and linking back to my Google Plus personal profile, and then confirming with Google, yep, that's a site where I'm contributing content. Now,
and there's a couple of good questions coming in about the Google Plus.
Sure, why don't you hit me with a couple of them, Brent?
Yeah. Can I have a personal and separate professional Google Plus profile?
So the short answer to that is yes. And in fact, for a lot of clinics, this is the only way we're going to be able to do this effectively. Now, Google Plus, their social platform, has a way of grouping friends into circles. So in a perfect world where you were completely conversant in the management of your circles and the associated security limitations, you could engage Google Plus, have one account, and really keep your personal and professional life separate. This is not a perfect world that we live in. I think understanding security measures and circle management will be difficult for a lot of clinics. And even though Google really wants there to be a one-person, one-account mapping, what we're recommending for our clients is that you create a Google Plus profile that's a personal profile for professional use. And that if you really want to engage Google Plus, use it personally to connect with friends and colleagues, that you would create a second Google Plus account, really keep those two worlds separate, but you just need to do it using a different email address. It's a great question. Brent, was there another one you wanted me to tackle before we move on?
Yeah, Dr. Azar was asking about PR Web. How does this affect press releases in PR Web?
Sure. So I'll generalize, Dr. Azar, and I'll say how does it affect content that appears on third-party websites? So the press releases are a great example of content that you might write and then syndicate out to different places. And as long as those sites will allow us to embed links, to put a link onto the page, we'll use the methods that I just showed you. So I'll roll back here to the two-link method. www.website.com might very well be a site like prweb.com. Instead of my big article, it might just be my press release. And at the bottom of the release, we can embed a link that says this was authored by your Google Plus account. We would log in on your behalf. And to the list of contributors, contributing to, we'd simply add down here another site that says www.prweb.com. And then whenever your press release shows up in search results, which is really, really common, your photo would attach next to that, even though it's on somebody else's site. So it's not a matter of what site the content is on. It's a matter of will or do they submit this new, or do they support this new code? So it's a great question. We'll move on, and let me explain the three-link method, and then we'll talk a little bit more. We'll answer some more of those questions that are on the side. So the three-link method is for websites where you have multiple contributors on the same site, and it works like this. You still have to have your personal Google Plus profile, well, one for every author. And in this case, it doesn't have to be a blog, but I'm using it as an example so you can see that it's clearly different than the last example I gave. So we'll call our blog www.blog.com, and there's at least two pages on that blog. One is a page about William Author, So it's his profile that appears on blog.com. And then we have a bunch of blog posts by William Author. In this 3-link method, what we do is we link each one of William Author's posts or pages back to his profile. And we use the rel equals author code there. Again, it's not so much important about the rel equals author part. Just get the idea that every page you write is going to link back to your profile. Then on the profile page, we mention that, hey, this particular author is also known over on Google+. And we use a little bit different code there called the rel equals me tag in this 3-way method, where we're linking back over to the Google+ profile here. Now, there's 2 of the 3 links. The rest of it is the same as what I've already shared you. We confirm with the Google+ account that you are, in fact, a contributor on blog.com, thereby closing the loop, telling Google that, yep, you can trust that what I'm writing over here is really coming from me. And this works great for practices with multiple doctors. This is going to be the kind of methodology we're actually working with RealSelf to encourage them to implement this. This is the method that will be used for you to claim authorship on posts for sites like RealSelf. And it'll be a great way for you to contribute when there's more than one author on a site. So here's the bad news. Google may take weeks or months to display your picture alongside your results even after you've implemented this coding effectively. What we're seeing right now is it's taking about 5 to 10 days on average. And many search results today may not be seen by Google as warranting pictures. So again, even though you've implemented the code correctly, certain caliber, certain kinds of search may not trigger the image and the more by links to be displayed. So what do you need to do now? For all of the Etna clients that are online, I know some of you are just our newsletter subscribers. Etna clients, I want to encourage you to talk to your account executive. Everybody else, you should talk directly to your vendor about this. We want to decide, do you want to swap your July marketing tactic with what was already planned, or you just want to layer authorship on top of the mix? Depending on your site, how many doctors are in the group, this is definitely something that is under 10 hours of total time to implement. So it's a pretty easy thing to swap in with most marketing tactics. And if you publish content that's outside of your site or your own blog, you want to collaborate with your account executive to ensure that there's proper implementation of the authorship coding. So the example that came up, Dr. Azar had asked about, PR web. We're adopting all of our marketing tactics where we're publishing content on third-party sites to implement this. So we'll be doing this automatically. But if you're doing your own thing, if you're publishing on somebody else's blog, maybe you're engaged in RealSelf and answering questions there, just be sure you let your account executive know so that they can guide you on how to take full advantage of this. And then we are working with some of the major players in our industry. RealSelf is one example, to encourage them to and guide them on the proper implementation of this code so that well, our clients in particular get full credit for everything that they're contributing around the web. And then ultimately, this is something that is evolving very quickly. There will be lots and lots of new things that we're able to do with the authorship coding, and expect to see more recommendations coming in the weeks and months ahead as we uncover new ways to apply this for your advantage. So just kind of summing up there, what do I want you to do? Get in touch with your account executives so that you can set strategy around who your authors are going to be, how you're going to assign authorship on your pages, and ultimately whether or not we're going to do this as a part of your July marketing, but we're encouraging you for sure not to wait. So before we sum up for the presentation, Brent, do we have other questions that we should tackle?
Yeah, we have Ann Cohen with us, and she's asking about how this affects Facebook and Twitter.
Sure. So as a part of the way authorship works, those tags allow us to declare not just that we're authoring content on our own site, but on third-party sites as well. I can, on my Google Plus profile, explain that and tell them that I contribute to a specific Facebook profile and a specific Twitter profile. Now, Twitter in particular has support for the rel equal author tag already. Facebook as well, but their implementation's a little bit incomplete. So we're seeing for basically a way of linking and connecting, this is really Google's goals, all of your content in all of the places that you provide it. YouTube is no different as an example, where you can claim authorship. In the case of YouTube or video results, though, your photo wouldn't appear alongside it because there's already an image of a still of the video that's being presented. So it's a great question. Authorship will connect not just page content, blog content, articles, press releases, but also through the use of that Google Plus profile, all of your contributions in social media together.
And there's another question from Susan. She's asking if there are 3 or 4 people contributing to the blog, should they use the full name and a hyperlink at the bottom of each post?
Sure. So depending on the blog platform that you're deployed, Susan, and for all of our clients, we prefer WordPress. There are plugins that are available that we'll be installing, especially for multi-author blogs, that will automatically do that for us. And there's really just 2 parts to it. When you specify the author on a blog post that you're in direct control of, it will automatically link back to their profile with the rel equals authors tag, and then we'll have made those author profiles link back to the Google Plus profile. So once it's configured, once it's set up, this will just happen automatically. For those that are contributing on blogs that are not in their direct control, so if you're a contributor and author on somebody else's blog, you'll simply need to ask them, can I add a link, append a link to the bottom of my post using the two-way method that just links right back to my Google profile. And then, of course, we need to close the loop, go over to Google Plus and say you're a contributor on that site. It's a great question.
If you have time for one more great question coming in, is the authorship facility only available for North American users?
The answer is absolutely not. This is something that Google has rolled out globally. What we are seeing, we have a lot of clients in Europe as well. What we're seeing with our European clients is that the authorship images are not as widely deployed. They're not showing up as often, even when they're correctly implemented. But we know for a fact that Google Plus profiles are available in Europe, and this coding standard has been rolled out worldwide. So this benefits everyone. I'm going to sum up, and then we're going to take some additional questions. So Brent, if you want to go back through, maybe filter and choose out a couple more. So summing up, authorship is really a big thing. It's big not only because it's a strong strategic play from Google, and it makes Google Plus much more relevant, but it's big because it's going to influence search results, and it's going to influence searchers. When Google trusts the author because they can see you as a human being and the wealth of content that you're contributing around the web, they're going to be better able to judge and assign higher rankings to your trustworthy content. And then all of the thought in the industry right now is that by putting a picture directly adjacent to search results, a picture of a real human being who's proud enough, who's willing to claim and take credit for the content that was written on the web, that's going to affect the psychology of the searcher, and they're going to be more likely to click on your result. Proper execution, what does it mean practically? It puts your picture alongside the search results, and while it's not having a huge influence on rank today, so your rankings will likely be the same today, they are doing this specifically to help them better understand what content is credible, and it will influence ranking in the very near future. It is a technical implementation. We're talking about a change in coding, and it's evolving very quickly. There's other tags that we expect to see Google using soon, like rel equal publisher, which will support more corporate tagging of content, company tagging of content. But definitely talk with your account executive here at Etna about the strategies we're deploying today and how you can take advantage of it. Brent, why don't we take a couple of questions? I'll leave this screen up and try to answer some more of the questions coming from the audience. So I might have lost you there, Brent. So any idea what type of content we should claim authorship for? Every page of the site, articles or blog? Dr. Ezra, it's a great question. The answer is we want to create as accurate a profile as possible for you and your content. So that would include your web pages, any of your blog posts, the posts or contributions that you make on third-party websites, content that you syndicate, and all of your social media profiles, including activity that you have on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and the like. What's going to prevent ghostwriters, Dr. Weigland writes in, from claiming the content, from pretending to be you? And I think for all of us, the idea of reputation management is a big concern. So I definitely understand the source of this question, and that's the closed-loop methodology of how this works. So when a new page is published, you add the first link that says, I am the author. Now, it very easily, I could do that, and I could claim on that post to be, I could claim to be President Obama. Well, the way that Google knows if that's in fact true is the author then has to go log in over to their Google Plus profile and sort of link back and tell Google, yep, that post over there, that is in fact me. So the closed loop methodology will be protecting your reputation, and the photo will only appear when all of the links are in place, either using the 2-link method that I displayed or the 3-link method. So will the authorship, yes?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Melanie has been patiently asking, where do you get the code?
So this is something that we're going to be implementing for our clients. So for our clients, you don't have to worry about it. For those that are working to do this on their own, simply look up how to implement authorship. It's a little technical, but it shouldn't be over most people's heads, and they outline the coding standards. It's simply a matter of adding an attribute into the links. So certainly this is something I think that you can have a conversation with your vendor about, and they'll be able to help you. Another really good question I see coming in is about retroactive targeting. The answer is absolutely yes, because again, we're trying to give credibility to your content, not just the new things you're doing, but everything you've done in the past. So certainly things that are under your direct control, you want to go back and tag that, claim it, so that Google knows that you're the author. And on, the only caveat would be is certain older sites that may not choose to comply with the new coding, might ultimately not support you in it. So if you have content out there on third-party websites, they may or may not go back and do it retroactively, but you certainly should try. And then, Brent, do we have any last questions before we wrap up that you've selected from that list?
I think we're good. A lot of great questions coming in.
Excellent. So if we, after we review the transcript from today, if we miss some questions, we'll do our best to answer those out. This recording will be available in our Learning Center in about a week's time. You can go to etnainteractive.com and click on Learning Center, and it'll be at the top of the list. If you haven't already, follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/etnainteractive, and we'll thank all of you for your time.